The Battle of Midway, fought from June 4th to 7th, 1942, stands as one of the most decisive naval battles in history. It was a pivotal moment that shifted the balance of power in the Pacific theater during World War II. 6 months after the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor, the Imperial Japanese Navy sought to further cripple the United States Pacific Fleet and secure a strategic foothold in the Pacific Ocean. Their ambition was to extend their defensive perimeter and force the United States into a negotiated peace. They selected Midway Atoll, a seemingly insignificant speck of land in the vast Pacific, as their target. This tiny atoll, however, held significant strategic value due to its location, serving as a potential launching point for further operations. Little did they know, they were sailing into a carefully prepared trap. The United States had been diligently working to decode Japanese communications, and their efforts were about to pay off in a monumental way. The Americans, having cracked the Japanese naval code, knew of the impending attack and were ready to defend Midway with a vengeance. This intelligence coup allowed them to set up an ambush that would catch the Japanese off guard. The stage was set for a titanic clash of carriers, the decisive weapons platform of the Pacific War. Aircraft carriers, with their ability to project air power over vast distances, would play a crucial role in the upcoming battle. The Japanese, under the command of Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, believed they had the upper hand. Yamamoto, a seasoned strategist, was confident in his fleet's ability to outmaneuver and outgun the American forces. They boasted a powerful fleet, spearheaded by 4 aircraft carriers that had wreaked havoc across the Pacific. These carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, were the pride of the Japanese Navy and had been instrumental in their previous victories. The Americans, led by Admirals Chester Nimitz and Raymond Spruance, were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had one crucial advantage: surprise. This element of surprise, combined with their strategic positioning, gave them a fighting chance against the formidable Japanese fleet. This advantage, coupled with the skill and determination of American sailors and airmen, would prove to be the deciding factor in the coming battle. The bravery and tenacity of these men would be tested to their limits in the fierce combat that lay ahead. The Japanese plan was complex, involving feints and diversions to draw the American fleet into a trap. They intended to use their superior numbers and tactical deception to overwhelm the American forces. They aimed to capture Midway Atoll, providing a forward base for their operations, and luring the remaining American carriers into a decisive battle. This would allow them to eliminate the last significant threat to their dominance in the Pacific. Unbeknownst to them, American codebreakers had already deciphered their plans, giving the US Navy precious time to prepare their defenses. This intelligence breakthrough was a game-changer, allowing the Americans to anticipate and counter the Japanese moves. Admiral Nimitz, understanding the importance of Midway, reinforced the island with aircraft and troops, transforming it into a deadly trap for the unsuspecting Japanese. The island's defenses were bolstered, and every available resource was marshaled for the impending clash. The battle that unfolded over the next few days would be a brutal test of skill, courage, and technology, forever etching the names of Midway, Yorktown, and Enterprise into the annals of naval history. The ferocity of the combat and the stakes involved made it one of the most dramatic confrontations of the war. The outcome of the battle would have a profound impact on the course of the Pacific War, marking a turning point in favor of the Allies and shattering Japan's aura of invincibility. The victory at Midway halted Japanese expansion and set the stage for Allied offensives that would eventually lead to victory in the Pacific. The Japanese attack on Midway was part of a larger strategic plan to expand their control over the Pacific. This plan was meticulously crafted by the Japanese High Command, who believed that dominating the Pacific was essential for their empire's survival and growth. Following their early victories in Southeast Asia and the devastating raid on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese felt invincible. Their rapid expansion had given them a sense of superiority and an unshakable belief in their military strategies. The Japanese High Command, led by Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, believed that a decisive victory at Midway would force the United States to negotiate a peace favorable to Japan. They saw Midway as the perfect opportunity to deliver a crippling blow to the American naval forces. They envisioned a scenario where the destruction of the American carriers would leave the Pacific at their mercy, allowing them to dominate the region unchallenged. This would enable them to consolidate their gains and dictate the terms of any future peace settlement. The Japanese were confident that their military prowess would ensure their dominance. They believed that their early successes were a testament to their superior strategy and execution. However, the Japanese plans were based on flawed assumptions and a dangerous underestimation of American resolve. They failed to recognize the resilience and determination of the American forces. They believed that the Americans, still reeling from the shock of Pearl Harbor, were demoralized and unwilling to engage in a protracted conflict. This miscalculation would prove to be a critical error. What the Japanese didn't know was that their every move was being tracked by American intelligence. The Americans had been working tirelessly to decode Japanese communications and had made significant progress. A dedicated team of codebreakers working tirelessly in a secret underground bunker in Pearl Harbor had broken the Japanese naval code, JN-25. This breakthrough was a game-changer, providing the Americans with invaluable insights into Japanese plans. This breakthrough gave the Americans an unprecedented window into Japanese intentions, allowing them to anticipate and counter their moves. Admiral Chester Nimitz, the commander of the Pacific Fleet, used this intelligence to devise a counter-strategy. Armed with this critical information, Admiral Nimitz knew the time and location of the planned Japanese attack. This knowledge allowed him to position his forces strategically and prepare for the impending battle. The element of surprise, so crucial in naval warfare, now rested firmly in American hands. The Americans were ready to turn the tables on the Japanese and deliver a counterpunch that would change the course of the war. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation, a battle of wits and technology between two determined adversaries. Both sides were preparing for a clash that would determine the future of the Pacific. The Japanese, confident in their military might and fueled by their early successes, were walking into a carefully laid trap. They were unaware that their plans had been compromised and that the Americans were ready and waiting. The Americans, aware of their numerical disadvantage, were determined to make every ship, every plane, and every man count. They knew that this battle was not just about Midway, but about the future of the entire Pacific theater. The early hours of June 4th, 1942, were shrouded in a tense silence as the vast Pacific Ocean lay still, awaiting the storm of battle. Aboard the American carriers, the USS Enterprise and the USS Hornet, crews prepared meticulously for the inevitable Japanese onslaught, knowing that the fate of the Pacific hung in the balance. Scouts patrolled the skies tirelessly, their eyes scanning the horizon for the first sign of the enemy fleet, every moment fraught with anticipation. At 4:30 a.m., the silence was shattered by a crackling radio transmission. A PBY Catalina patrol plane radioed in a sighting, two carriers and the main body of ships 150 miles away on a course of 135 degrees. The enemy had been found. The Battle of Midway had begun in earnest. The Japanese, unaware that their plans were compromised, launched their first wave of aircraft, targeting Midway Atoll with precision and determination. Over 100 Japanese bombers and fighters roared towards the island, their engines a deafening symphony of war, determined to neutralize its defenses and pave the way for invasion. They were met with a wall of anti-aircraft fire from American batteries on the ground and from fighter planes scrambling to intercept them, the sky erupting in a deadly dance of fire and metal. Despite the fierce American defense, the Japanese managed to inflict significant damage on Midway's installations, their bombs leaving a trail of destruction. However, the American fighters, though outnumbered, fought valiantly and exacted a heavy toll on the attacking force, downing several Japanese bombers and fighters in intense dogfights. The first exchange of blows had commenced, setting the stage for a brutal and decisive confrontation. The Japanese, confident in their superior numbers and strategy, believed they were on the verge of a decisive victory. They had no idea that they were being drawn into a carefully orchestrated trap, a trap that would soon snap shut around their powerful but vulnerable fleet, changing the course of the war. The Battle of Midway, a battle that would decide the fate of the Pacific, was far from over. The courage and strategy displayed here would echo through history, marking a turning point in the war.